The Truth Can Get You Killed, a Paul Turner mystery. Author Mark Richard Zubro. Publisher St. Martin's Press, New York. Narrator Eric Aust. "You feeling any better?" Fenwick asked Turner the next morning as they waited for roll call to start. "I had a talk with Ian and got a chance to be home. I'm working on being pissed off, mixed with resignation in the face of hopeless reality. The day's early. You'll get over it." Acting Commander Moulton drew them aside after the morning formalities. "Pressure is starting to get intense. The interest in this case is not going to go away. What have you got?" They told him of yesterday's developments. "The inquiry is going backwards," Moulton said. He shook his head. "Whatever you need around here is yours. I got a call from the Justice Department this morning. The mayor's office phoned my home last night. The Federal Bureau of Investigation is pestering me, and the superintendent wants to meet with me for an update. This is getting ugly. Get out there and get me something." They hustled to the desks. On top of the pile of paperwork, Turner found a note that said, "Call the airlines." He did. The official, a youthful-sounding male, told him that Judge Meade's luggage had turned up. Turner listened to him explain that, especially on international flights, anyone who checks in luggage but doesn't board the plane sets off an alarm in security. The luggage was removed, examined, and placed in storage. The paperwork hadn't surfaced on his desk until today. The official also told Turner that, except for his return flight, they had no record of a second airline ticket for the judge. "Could he have flown under another name?" Turner asked. "Very doubtful," the man said. "It used to be that if you paid cash, you could fly domestically under any name you wanted. Not anymore. On any flight, crossing international borders, whatever you've got to have identification." After he hung up, Turner told Fenwick this. "So, he really planned to go?" Fenwick asked. "Gotta be. First, the judge checks in, then he sees the kid and his world changes. Maybe he really planned to go." So, the judge was really on his way to Canada, which would mean the trip was not a huge cover-up and he was not a closet case. So, we know one thing. He wasn't gay. He sees his kid. Is one kiss going to stop the judge from saying hello and cause him to cancel a trip? "I think it's safe to say that something stopped him from making the trip," Turner said. "Precisely what? We've got what the kid says, but how far do we believe him? I don't think we got the whole truth from him." "I don't either. I wonder if Mike Meade and his dad had a fight in the airport." "We got the report from the uniforms who talked to people out there." Turner hunted through the piles of paper and found the paperwork. He glanced over it. They interviewed the personnel at the check-in counter at the gate and on the plane. The woman at the counter didn't remember the judge. Nobody noticed him at the gate. They're willing to give us the passenger list. We could call all the people on the flight in the hopes someone saw him. Put some uniforms on it. We probably should try all the people on the kid's flight, too. All right. They talked to the people in the shops on the concourse the plane flew from. No one remembers them. One of the busiest flying days of the year. Lucky if they remember their own name. They could have had the fight right there, or maybe there was no fight. We only have his word for it that he came in at the airport, or that he met his dad there. I'm starting to doubt everything. Maybe Gary is wrong about seeing the judge. Schurz was unreliable. Maybe Mike Meade is making everything up. Try this, Fenwick said. Kid and dad argue at the airport, then get in a cab to go home. The argument gets out of control. The cabbie conveniently looks the other way as the kid pulls out a gun he has flown in with on an airplane and blows his dad away. The cabbie obligingly keeps the dead body in the car until 2 a.m. If we believe the body arrived with the noises heard by the bookstore owner down the street, your scenario leaves a mite to be desired. I can't see a cab driver not charging a fortune for the ride. Nobody could afford it. Let me try again. They really do argue, but they go someplace else to do it. They don't want to go home. Let's not upset Mom. Why not? Is Mom that fragile? We have no proof of that. They argue somewhere else. Kid's apartment up north, Turner asked. I didn't see any blood. What, do you want his dad to know he had a secret place? Along with a secret life. So they argue someplace, the federal building. Why there? Why not? The kid gets a gun from somewhere. After he shoots Dad, he drops the weapon down a convenient storm drain. He gets to work on time, but just before he starts dancing, he puts his dad in a convenient dumpster near the bar, where he is leading a double life. Kid says he doesn't own a car, Turner said. How's he going to be dragging his dad around? I'm having trouble buying Mike Mead as the killer. Should we search the Mead home and the kid's apartment here and in Bloomington? Do we have enough evidence for search warrants? Kid claims to have seen his dad the night of the murder. So did Gary. Are we going to search his place? Carl Short said no place to search. We have to call the airlines and confirm they had a Mike Mead fly in that night. Fenwick reached for his phone and began punching in numbers. Turner called the Department of Motor Vehicles and gave them Mike Mead's name and address. They had no record of him owning a car in Illinois. A moment after Turner hung up, his phone rang. It was the commander of the police district. Naturel was in. Sorry I didn't get back to you sooner, the commander said. I heard you had a question about activity here? Yeah, some pretty rough stuff goes on in Naturel. Bar on Lincoln Avenue. Yeah. I get no complaints. I don't act unless I get a complaint. Their license is up to date. Probably pay their taxes on time. You've had no problems there? None. After Fenwick got off the phone, Turner told him what the commander had said. Which means Dana Sickles paid her graft on time, Fenwick asked. She's obviously good with the local commander. I've sometimes wondered how some of those dancers get away with some of the things they wear or don't wear. Those fishnet jockstraps, a few of them parade around, and it can't be completely legal. Did you want to file a complaint? No. For whatever reason, the local commander doesn't hassle her. Maybe it's simply because she runs a clean place. Does pay her bills, doesn't get complaints, and is an outstanding member of the community. She's a Republican. Maybe the commander's a Republican too. Aren't they all paragons of civic virtue? Fenwick said, I'm the only paragon around here. The airlines confirmed that Mike Mead flew from St. Louis to Chicago on New Year's Eve. The flight was late 3 hours. And the truth shall set you free. Rodriguez entered the room. His hand was on the elbow of a uniformed cop. Turner thought he looked more like he was leading a possible suspect than a co-worker. Together they trudged over to Turner. The young cop was tall, blonde-haired, and handsome. His uniform pants clung to his narrow hips. They stopped in front of Turner. The young cop hung his head and muttered in a rush. I'm sorry about the phone call you got the other day. I didn't know it was important. If I did something wrong, I apologize. Which phone call? Turner asked. You got a personal call, wondering if you were all right. This was the guy who had been rude to Ben. Turner read his identification badge. Jason O'Leary. The guy who won the betting pool the day before. Fenwick got up, moved next to the man, and placed one of his huge arms around the guy's shoulders. A self-confessed homophobic creep. He squeezed the guy's shoulder. I always wanted to see one of those in person. Lay off. O'Leary shrugged off Fenwick's hand. Turner shook his head at Fenwick. His partner dropped his arm. Rodriguez said, See, confession is good for the soul. You feel better? The uniform muttered, I need to go. Then get the hell out, Rodriguez said. The three of them watched the guy walk out. Thanks, I think, Turner said. He's an asshole, Rodriguez said. And he's starting to screw up as much as Carruthers. He's the nephew of a good friend of mine up in the 23rd. I figured I'd set him straight. How'd you find out what was going on? Turner asked Rodriguez. Fenwick said, I mentioned it. Figured it was okay. Turner nodded. You'll never guess how I got onto him. Rodriguez leaned closer. Don't spread this around. But it was Carruthers. Turner and Fenwick gawked at him. Rodriguez smiled at their looks. Don't get me wrong. He didn't deliberately help out. We were at a gang killing, and he was talking to some buddies. I overheard one of the beat cops telling him a story about getting even with a faggot detective. I kind of wandered over to give him credit. Carruthers wasn't happy about what the guy said. I almost defended you, Paul. Damn, Fenwick said. Do we give him a medal? Carruthers bustled into the room and over to them. He saw them staring and looked from one to the other. What? He asked. Carruthers wore an aviator's hat, complete with ear flaps, a sweater with cigarette burn holes in it, and a maroon leather coat that hung almost to his knees. Thanks, Randy, Turner said. For what? O'Leary was just up here apologizing. Carruthers said, I know you're a homosexual. I don't believe in special rights for anybody, but I don't believe anybody should have to put up with prejudice. I know the time my mom tried to call when she thought I'd been shot. She was frantic. Nobody who loves you should be treated like that. It's not fair, and it's not right. I know you guys don't like me and laugh at me, and I don't expect any favors for this, but what that guy said was wrong. It was the right thing to do to make him come apologize. Turner didn't remember Miss Manners' guide to responding appropriately to those who've defended you when you least expected it. Turner said, Thanks again, Randy. You don't know me, Carruthers said. What's right is right. He left. Isn't that precious? Fenwick said. The least likely person on the planet doing you a favor. I don't like feeling obliged to him. You're not obliged to him or me, Rodriguez said. Asshole O'Leary might have learned something. I better go chase down my partner. Doing one good thing might give him ideas. Turner thanked Rodriguez. He left. That really was good of Carruthers, Turner said. But it feels funny. Kind of like winning the grand prize everybody's talking about. But it turns out to be 2 weeks in Newton, Iowa. Weird. Somebody who's supposed to be a dope doing something pretty goddamn nice. But with mildly offensive overtones. Maybe he wanted you to feel obligated. Does Carruthers thinking get to that level? What if I'd done it? Fenwick asked. I don't know. For some reason, I think it would have been funnier. Could we have been wrong about Carruthers all this time? No, Fenwick said. Fenwick sat down at his desk. Now what? He asked. We catch up on the rest of the reports we haven't read yet. Turner lifted up the pile on his desk. And nothing flagged here, presumably. Nothing anybody found significant. Might as well hunt through them now. They found the crime lab report concerning the back door at Au Naturel. A little vomit, a little beer, 57 different partial finger and or thumb prints. No blood on the door, the floor, or anywhere on the property in the backyard of the bar. Turner found the section on the blood in the alley. The samples from the ground matched those of the dead man. The contents of the dumpster the body was found in, including the normal detritus of an urban alley. But nary a thing unusual or that seemed even remotely to be a clue. Turner said, I want to talk to Gary, Sickles, and Meade. I want lots of information about the judge's son. Mike Meade must have friends. I want complete background on him, and the same with the rest of the family. I also want to talk to the judge, who Albert Meade most agreed with. After half an hour, Fenwick tossed his stack onto his desk. This is crap. Who's working on the judge's decisions? Fenwick hunted. Some uniform named Sangre de Cristo. It took them 5 minutes of wading through several levels of bureaucrats to find out that the woman they wanted to talk to was one flight above them on the 4th floor. Turner thought she must be in her mid-20s. She smiled at them in her tiny office. The space heater was going full blast. Her desk was pristinely neat. One large stack of papers was to her left. A 10-page report was open in front of her. Immediately to the right of this was a pad of lined white paper. Further to her right was a smaller stack of files. She had one pink and one blue highlighter on the desk. Next to them was a black ballpoint pen. Turner saw several lines of the document underlined in pink. She smiled at them. They asked what she had. De Cristo picked up her pad of paper and flipped back to the front. Turner saw that she printed in concise block letters. She said, "First, I started with the opinions the judge was supposed to have written himself. I began with the first one and read through them. I believe he basically wrote them all himself." Barlow claimed he wrote them, Turner said. "That tight-ass twit made a lot of claims," Fenwick said. She continued. "Clerks come and go, and you would notice changes in style. Very few alterations. And those that are there are very minor. Second, logic, reasoning, and knowledge of the law. They put me on this because I'm going through law school. I'm not an absolute expert, but from what I've seen, the logic holds together. The reasoning is generally sound. Knowledge of the law, okay, at least a B+. Communicator, on paper. Third types of decisions he worked on. Mostly they were non-controversial. The kind people never hear about. Mundane and boring, nothing really spectacular. Fourth, the controversial decisions. They were almost invariably written by Judge Horatio G. Wright, who has been on this circuit 6 months longer than Meade was. His writing is brilliant, if you accept his premises, and then you cannot disagree with him. He is good. One oddity, Meade wrote all the decisions concerning gay people. That's all I have so far. I can give you a full report tomorrow around noon," Turner said. "Judge Malmsted told us he was stupid." "I can't say that based on what I've read so far." "They hated each other," Fenwick said. Sangre said perhaps her view of her colleague was a bit jaundiced because of that. "Could be," Turner said. "They thanked her and left." On the way down the stairs, Fenwick said, "I hate it when people are that organized and neat. I think it must be a character defect." "They've been slipping on that lately at the academy. I heard they dropped intermediate and advanced slob." "They still do teach introductory chaos 101 and 102? "Certainly, but obviously some slip by. Summary executions might help," Fenwick said. "I want to run all the cases I have to do research on." "She won't be a cop long. And now that we're armed with better questions, let's go see Judge Horatio G. Wright." Hell of a name for a judge. It sounds more like the name of a Civil War general to me. "You're thinking of Horace Greeley," Fenwick said. "I am. We've interviewed nearly 70 people in the past few days." "Which one was he?" "Horace Greeley was a newspaperman back in..." "I'm not amused. I'm sure whichever one Horatio was, he must be in our notes. I think he was the one who smoked cigars, but who didn't have a corner office." It was a Saturday. They phoned the judge at home and said they'd be over to talk. Outside, the temperatures had reached all of 17 degrees above zero. The 30-degree rise in temperature did feel better. Turner doubted if it would reach the promised above freezing. The judge lived in a condominium on the lake in Evanston. They drove up Lakeshore Drive to Sheridan Road, took the curve around the cemetery that bordered Chicago and Evanston, and turned right on the first street they could off of Sheridan, Evanston. The judge greeted them at the door and smiled pleasantly. He offered them refreshments, which the detectives turned down. Judge Wright smoked long, thin cigars that smelled of rosewood. Turner enjoyed their aroma. The room they sat in had floor-to-ceiling bookcases. The volumes nearest Turner were fiction. The top shelf had what looked to him like a complete set of Dickens. The couch and matching chairs were brown corduroy. The furniture sat on a champagne-colored shag rug. In front of a stone fireplace was a desk that Turner guessed might have come from as far back as the American Revolution. "How's the investigation going?" Wright asked. "That's why we're here, Your Honor," Turner said. "We've been going through Judge Meade's decisions, the ones he wrote, and the ones he concurred with, and who he disagreed with." "Yes," the judge tapped cigar ash into a large glass ashtray in the shape of the United States. He wrote his own decisions, but we discovered that any controversial decisions, except the gay ones, were always written by you. And that means... Why was that? This has something to do with murder? We're checking every aspect of his life. How efficient? Turner asked. Is there a reason for this sarcasm, Your Honor? He puffed on a cigar. I've never actually seen Chicago's finest at work. Are all the clerks and judges as snotty as the lawyers? Fenwick asked. The judge's reaction to this crack was to smile condescendingly and flip more ashes into his glass receptacle. Turner said, why did he write only those opinions on gay people? They were as controversial as any others. More cigar puffing. Al Mead was a bright enough man. I was brighter. He had the courage of his convictions. He'd sign on, but he wouldn't write them. He never explained why he wanted to write the gay decisions. There have been only 3 since he's been on the bench. Either way, it gave both of us great satisfaction to see liberals squirm. Weren't you afraid of protests? Judges make tough decisions. Somebody is always going to criticize. That never changes. Al had more controversy about him because he made a lot of public appearances. Some judges make speeches and some don't. He did. He was never going to be appointed to the Supreme Court unless right-wing conservatives took over Congress and the presidency. His paper trail left no doubt where he stood on social issues. If you were so pleased to see liberals squirm, why didn't you have fights with Judge Malmsted like Judge Mead did? I like Judge Malmsted. I could sit down with her over a drink and discuss the fine points of legal decisions. Back to the days of Magna Carta. She is a brilliant woman. She is wrong most of the time, but if we based our relationships on who was right and who was wrong, would we ever get anywhere? We're civilized people, except for whoever killed Judge Mead. With that exception. Francis Barlow, the clerk who worked in Judge Mead's office, said that Judge Wadsworth and Judge Mead had words the day of the decision on the DuPage County ruling. Which one was Barlow? The supercilious, snotty one, Fenwick said. That's most of them. Turner described him. Ah, yes, the judge said. I remember him lurking around on occasion. Always had his nose in the air. My clerk spoke with me about him one time. He said Barlow was always rude to the other clerks. Wouldn't help. And wouldn't go along. I believe I heard Al Mead chiding him one day about his attitude toward his fellow workers. Do you remember what he said? No. It was something brief. As in any office, there are conflicts. I'm sure it was some such simple thing. I have no idea of any words Wadsworth and Mead may have had, or for that matter, that Barlow and Mead may have had, or even Barlow and Wadsworth. What was the most serious disagreement Mead had with Judge Malmsted? Really? These were all civilized people. Federal judges have made hundreds of thousands, probably millions of decisions in this country. They don't kill each other. That's what Judge Wadsworth said. And I agree with him. Fenwick said, "This is total bullshit." Turner interrupted before Fenwick could get into a full-scale set-to with another judge who may or may not have friends with clout. Turner thought Fenwick was pushing his luck. Turner said, "We need answers, Your Honor, and you haven't been cooperative. None of you have, really. We've got a homicide to solve." "I find you both terribly amusing," Wright said. He managed to make her cough sound like a condescending put-down. He took a large silk handkerchief out of the pocket of his smoking jacket and brushed specks of dust from the cloths covering the mound of his corpulent belly. His movements and manner reminded Turner of a bishop in a movie set at the time of the French Revolution. The kind of bishop you'd hope the revolutionists had gotten hold of early on and used for guillotine practice. Wright said, "Snare as you like, but we all really do get along better than most offices. Malmsted and me did fight often. Everybody knew it. I more than like Rosemary Malmsted. Our families are close. I've known her father for years. It is just an oddity that we're on opposite sides of the political spectrum. Although your basic wealthy Republican is not all that different from your wealthy Democrat. Meade and Malmsted had words last week before the DuPage County decision. She came to me to talk. She was furious. She has an uncle who is gay. I deflected her as much as possible. But she decided she was going after Al Meade with a vengeance. Al was never good at smoothing things out. He always knew the wrong thing to say. He was good at throwing gasoline on dying embers. I liked Al. He played a great round of golf. I went to sporting events with him. He just shot his mouth off once or twice too often. Maybe that's what killed him. You think Malmsted murdered him? Turner asked. No, I didn't mean that. You asked for problems. I've just given you the biggest and the most obvious, and the one pertaining to your case. Anybody else hear them argue? Turner asked. No, it was just outside my chambers. She'd asked to meet with us early before the decision came out. None of the office help were in. The three of us had talked and got nowhere. The two of them left and continued arguing just outside my door. I could hear them clearly. Why argue then? The decision must have long since been decided on and written. Judge Malmsted wanted to make her point. Making a point was something she felt she was good at. Nothing further, he added, helped them with their case. In the car, Fenwick said, they need to pass a new law. They can call it the Fenwick is Pissed Act. Judge Wright is a perfect example. Whoever pisses me off gets arrested. Do you have to know them personally, or can it just be on television or in a newspaper? Either. I don't like these people. Me neither. Nothing clever or witty to say about them? Don't like is don't like. What's Dad? Where to? The Meade kid Sideway is on her way back. Let's stop and see if he's in. If he's not there, we can try at his mom's, and we better talk to Malmsted again. She's the angry flashpoint. We get no confirmation anywhere that Meade and Wadsworth didn't like each other, except from Barlow. I think we need to lean on Mr. Francis Barlow. He's got secrets to tell. They devoured sandwiches at a small takeout deli on Howard Avenue. As they drove up to Mike Meade's apartment, they saw a blue and white squad car parked in the alley next to the building. The driver's side door was open, with a cop standing in the opening. His partner leaned against the back of the car. Both cops were staring up at the building. Turner and Fenwick moseyed over. They showed their identification. What's up? Fenwick asked. Neighbor reported a window smashed a few minutes ago. It might have been a backfire in the alley or a gunshot immediately prior to the window being broken. Nobody answered our knock on the manager's door. The neighbor said it was in the apartment next to hers. She let us in the building. When we knocked on the door at the apartment, no one answered. They followed the gaze of the uniformed cop to where a curtain was blowing out of a window. Is that Mike Meade's? Turner asked. I hope not, Fenwick said. They got the neighbor's name, walked over and rang the bell. Turner said, Police, into the intercom. She buzzed them in. If he were a crook, Turner would use the same method to get into any building on the third floor. They met the inquisitive tenant, a young woman named Elmira Wiggins. She said, I was taking a shower. I thought I heard noise from next door, and then the window smashed. Did it sound like a quarrel? People shouting? No, more like somebody maybe bumping into things. Maybe throwing things. It's the middle of the day, and I had my stereo on loud. I was getting ready to go to work. The last noise before the window might have been a gunshot or a car backfiring in the alley. After I was dressed, I tried knocking on his door, but nobody answered. There hasn't been any noise since the window broke. They joined the beat cops out in the hall. We're going in, Turner said. Everybody nodded. Allow me, Fenwick said. He raised his foot to kick in the door. Stop, Turner ordered. They all looked at him. What happened the last time you did that, Buck? Busted 3 bones in my foot. I'm not going to chance getting stuck with Carruthers while you recover. Turner asked the beat cuffs to try the manager again. As they turned to go, Fenwick tried the knob. It turned, and the door swung open. Turner entered the room first. They found Mike Meade, dead, under the small window in the bathroom. Gay Mysteries audiobooks. I think it is easy to hate a label, but a face humanizes the word. So this effort is twofold. To offer comfort to those like myself that your world didn't end because you don't fit into the view of acceptable society on both sides. And in hopes of helping those with family that are LGBTQ, that it doesn't mean we are aliens from the child they once knew. Reassure them so they can maybe be supportive at the same time, being true to their values.